Hi, hello. How are you doing?
What's up, assholes?
We're just gonna get right into it. We're doing a documentary deep dive again. And this time we did, what was it called? It was like...
It had a rather long
It was a
name.
long title.
Hold on.
I should have written it down.
I got it.
Did not. It was another one that was 3 episodes. With the story, like, progressing.
I'm like, why isn't it bringing it up? Because I'm still on, like, the kids' account.
Oh.
Hold
yeah,
on.
kids do not need to watch that.
I got you. I got this. Mother of God. Here we go. It is called Bad Influence, the Dark Side of Kidfluencing.
Yeah. So, kidfluencing is when, like, a kid becomes an influencer. And, like, think Ryan's World. I would say even JoJo Siwa.
But like all of these that she's naming aren't not necessarily bad situations.
Right. Not all of these are bad situations.
Because I'm 10
but, like,
out of 10 behind Ryan's World because I've not been able to find a whole lot about them.
Yeah.
Unless I'm just missing it all.
I mean, it was definitely brought up in this series.
It was.
But I mean, it seems like...
But it was like in passing. They weren't like accusing...
Right. It was like, it was, just an example of like a kid influencer. And
they be doing stuff in there that's age appropriate for the
like
kids.
Ryan's World. It was like toy unboxings.
Yes.
And like, if anything's
like
gonna get,
show.
Oh yeah. And like merch and all kinds of crap.
My kids love it.
But like, it's, like you said, age appropriate. It's like other kids would be excited to see a kid open a package versus an adult opening a toy. Because a kid's going to be way more excited about it.
Yeah.
If it's like something they're into. So I started watching this at work and then had to stop because I take notes. I take like, they're like abbreviated, but so we've got Tiffany Smith was her name. And she has, her sister Patience, we also like see at the very beginning too. And she's, and then Tiffany gets pregnant with Piper and has Piper. Dad left.
I think while she was still pregnant.
While she was still pregnant. Yeah. Like he's never been in the picture. And Piper started out as like a pageant kid, like being like full blown pageant mom
Pageants
situation.
Are a gateway drug.
Like, yes.
My kid did one, and then I realized how much of a pageant mom I was becoming and said never again.
And it's expensive.
It really is. Mine did like just a local county fair.
A lot of these that are like, the kids are in bikinis, they're in full makeup, they're getting their hair dyed, they're getting spray tans. Yes, they're getting veneers. And it's like, why not let them be little girls?
10 out of 10. I used to love that show, Toddlers and Tiaras, though.
Yeah, I never watched
Honey Boo Boo Baby.
So, and then Piper started doing like auditions and stuff. Like her mom started having her go on auditions, and she was cast on a show called Dance Twins. And then, and Tiffany was described as like the fun mom. Like people called her the fun mom. She's like
not a regular mom. She's a fun mom.
She's like a fun mom. But she was pushy, like, in regards to, like, if Piper got second place, she was not happy about it.
It wasn't good enough.
It was, right. It was first place or nothing. And even if she got first place, chances are she still wasn't going to be happy. And then Patience, I think it was, that mentioned, like, they fought about Piper going to school, because Piper never went to school.
It was Patience or her wife that mentioned it to Tiffany.
Yeah. And they got into a fight about it and like stopped speaking. Because Piper was 8 years old and not in school and had never been in school. And then Piper becomes friends with another, I think, was she another castmate on Dance Twins?
Yes.
Corinne, who was also a dancer.
She's absolutely gorgeous.
She is really gorgeous. And then this is around the same time when Tiffany starts Piper's YouTube channel. And Tiffany seemed like she was in touch with social media, but she was obsessed with the view count. Not Corinne, but Sophie. Eventually we'll meet Sophie. But like her mom, she was like, she would just talk about the numbers and like, that's all she was focused on. Like she was like, it's at 20K likes now. It's at 40K. It's at 60K. It's at 80K. And she was like, yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And like, she's like, it doesn't sound like it doesn't really sink in how big that is. And it was just exciting momentum for the girls. At this point, it's just Piper and Corinne. And in 2017, Piper moves to LA. And I think Tiffany like made it sound like this was Piper's idea.
But really and honestly, they just packed up their shit.
Yeah.
And their cats.
Yeah.
And jumped in the car and took off.
And Tiffany wanted success for Piper. Like, it was really like she wanted Piper to be a child star, basically.
The cash cow.
Yeah. And it's this time we meet Hunter. He is introduced to the story. And it's kind of weird. He, like, posed as Piper's brother. And, like, even Patience, who was Tiffany's sister, is like, that's weird.
Yeah.
As I think he was 17 at the time. Yeah. 17 or 18, something like that. And he had Hunter's friend was Reagan, who felt like there was some sort of secret relationship going on with Hunter and Tiffany. And then when Hunter was 19 or 20, he moved in with Tiffany and Piper. Tiffany was described as being opportunistic. And then Piper was cast on a show that was on YouTube called Manny, which was like about a male nanny. And she played Sky. And this is where we meet Sophie. And this was Sophie's first job. And Sophie's mom said that that Tiffany kind of forced her into creating all these social media accounts for Sophie. So like, saying that like people, once they see her on this show, they're gonna want to follow her.
Right. So on the show, Piper was portraying like the preppy it girl. And Sophie was like the goth girl that was the exact opposite of Piper.
Right.
So when they started she started pushing, Sophie's mom into making her accounts and stuff like that. They started doing like spin-offs of like on their personal channels of switching the roles.
Yeah.
Where Sophie would be the preppy it girl and Piper was the goth girl.
And what I noticed, and Sophie's mom talked about how Tiffany and Piper would invite Sophie over for sleepovers, and every single time they filmed videos for YouTube. But one thing that like I noticed was a common thread throughout the whole docuseries was that all of Piper's friends talked positively about her throughout.
Yes.
Like, not a single one of them had anything really negative to say about Piper.
Right. And, like, And we see here that there is a genuine connection and friendship between Sophie and Piper.
Yes.
Like they really are thick as thieves, as close as friends can be.
They're as close like that. I think that friendship with Piper is probably the closest, or the friendship with Sophie is probably the closest that Piper has ever been to a real friendship.
Right.
But we'll get to that. And then at some point while filming the show Manny, Tiffany got pissed off. I think it was like season 2, maybe, because another actor got more lines than Piper. Yeah. And like she started having an absolute come apart and was like screaming about how Piper made this show. And then she tried to get Sophie and Sophie's mom to also leave the set, to storm off set. And they were like, no, like this is, and like Sophie's mom is also a single mom. And she was like, no, we can't do that. But Tiffany and Piper dragged Piper off set. And Sophie said that this was the first time she realized that Tiffany was unstable, but never expressed it. And like, she's like 7 or 8 years old.
Right.
So, but at this point, she's no longer allowed to be friends with Piper.
Let me pause here and just say, to add to this situation, you as the listeners have probably never heard of Piper Raquel.
I had never heard of her.
Let me explain to you that when I was rewatching this the other day, as I'm working, I say rewatching as I'm working. It was playing in the background while I was working. Yeah. I had already watched it once, but I'm re-listening to everything that's going on as I'm going through work. And Gemma walked in the room and she goes, "Why are you watching Piper Raquel?"
Oh.
She couldn't hear it. I had headphones in.
But she like saw her on the screen.
She was like, "Why are you watching Piper Raquel?"
Yeah.
I said, "You know who this is?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you watch her stuff?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "No," which, you know, we've mentioned before. I'm pretty locked in with what the kids watch. But you know, every once in a while she may deviate. She's seen music videos that some of the other channels that I do allow her to watch.
Yeah.
Piper was featured in other music videos.
I wonder
that were in
if she like realizes that it's. We'll get to it. Like she realizes that it's not on the up and up. Like it's not.
Gemma does.
Yeah, that like all these videos are.
I had to explain to her that there are
now that she's a little older,
maybe, but we've had the conversation of like some of these kids channels, and the reason why I don't allow her to watch them is because they're being driven by the parents.
Yeah,
and it's not always super appropriate, or the kids are not in a good foundation.
Yeah,
and so I don't want to give them those views, which is essentially putting money in their pocket for the kid to have to continue to do it.
Right. Yeah, because you know, like after I watch it, I like to look and see if I can find any like updates on situations, and I have thoughts.
Okay.
But I didn't watch like any of her videos or anything. Like I just went to her Instagram account. But I didn't go to like YouTube or anything. But we'll get to that. So at this point, we meet Claire, and Patience is her stepmom. And her mom married Patience, and so she's now Piper's cousin by marriage.
Can I also tell you that like Patience, I have a type.
You know, I can see it. And I think it was Claire said, you know, that Piper easily connected with new friends.
Right.
And then Patience was talking about growing up with Tiffany and how like they were very close in childhood. And then it said post-divorce. So did their parents get divorced? Yes. Okay. So post their parents divorcing, she said Tiffany totally changed.
I'm pretty sure that's what she meant.
I think so. Because it wasn't specified.
Right.
So I don't know if it was like her divorce from Piper's dad, if they were even ever married.
Right.
But it definitely sounded like a parental thing. And then fast forward to 2018, and Piper is now 11. And this is when we meet Sawyer, who didn't know anything about Piper Raquel at this time. And then Tiffany kept inviting new kids to the clique, and she eventually it became like a scripted situation. She wanted to model everything after the show Friends. And also at this point, Sophie is back in the picture. And was this before? I'm just looking. Yeah. Okay. So this is before. This is like they're in LA, but like nobody lives together yet.
Right.
They were like being compared to Team 10, Jake Paul's Team 10, David Dobrik with like whatever bullshit he had going on. It was that same sort of formula that they were outputting at that time, but with children.
Right.
And like all of these other kids were looked at as Piper's supporting cast. So like Piper's the main character and all of these other kids are there as her like backup singers, basically. They went on tour. They were a touring. I have never heard of these people. They had like 10 million subscribers on YouTube. It's like, it's an insane outfit, and I had never heard of any of them.
Yeah. And that's saying something for somebody whose life was on YouTube. Like, you like stay on YouTube.
I stay on YouTube, and I have never heard of these people in my life. And then, this was about the time that Piper hit 1 million on YouTube. She put out a song called Treat Myself. And this is when they started earning a lot of money by being able to monetize the YouTube content. Right. They were getting brand deals, merch sales, tour tickets, all kinds. And a manager that was like doing an interview throughout this whole docuseries named Brandon, he was saying that like kids were making 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
6 figures a month off this stuff. And this is when the parents of the other children start to realize that this is making money.
Right.
But they're not seeing any of it.
Right.
So Sophie's mom said, like, if you're telling me about the money, then where is my kid's money?
Right.
And Tiffany was like, oh, she's getting paid in exposure. That's exposure. And I'm like, ick.
Right.
Yuck. But at this point, like, and Sophie's mom did not question it, because the thing to know is like these parents involved, these other parents involved had no social media background at all. Like, didn't really understand how it all works, and were basically relying on Tiffany to tell them how it worked.
And
all they knew was what she told them.
I will say too, and this is me drawing conclusions, Sophie's mom came across as a very easily pushed over person.
Yes, she did. She
looks
did give.
Like she's been through some shit.
Yes. She does give very much like doormat vibes.
Yes.
And like I hope that like she has overcome that now and is like doing better.
For sure.
Yeah. And then it was talked about Hunter helping get more views, and like Hunter would know how to like manipulate and like how like exactly what thumbnail is going to get clicks.
Get the views. What titles?
Yes, titles. What types of edits? Like what to cut, what to put in. And like I think it was Sawyer, he said, when he already had a pre-existing YouTube channel before getting involved with the Piper, Rockefeller, and Tiffany, all that.
Rockefeller?
What did I say?
You said Rockefeller.
What is it?
Raquel.
Thank you. But anyway, he said that like when he joined in with this crowd, he had to hand over his YouTube channel to Hunter. And said it seemed right at the time. Moving into 2019, this is when Tiffany suggests that everybody moves into one house together. Team 10 style. They all, David Dobrik style, they all moved into like a content creating house. And I mean, it even gives like the TikTok cult that we talked about last time. It's a similar vibe. Get in here.
Come on or not?
Come on.
Quit whining about it and be about it.
And
Don't start with my
it was voiced to Sophie's mom that Piper wanted a stable parent because she knew she didn't have that with Tiffany.
It was voiced to Sophie's mom by Piper.
Yes, Piper told her this. And when anybody moved into the house and became part of the squad, everyone got a YouTube channel, everyone got socials, all the things.
Hunter set them up with all the things that they needed.
And Hunter ran all of the pages, did all of the editing, all that kind of stuff. And they were putting out 10 to 15 videos a day. And they worked, according to the kids, from 11 a.m. to 1 or 2 a.m. and were filming every single day.
But they were getting up early enough to do school.
Yes.
And then getting into it.
Yes.
Sometimes not eating lunch.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. And then when they were done filming for the day,
yeah,
they would have to clean the house, do the chores and all that. Are we going
I haven't got to the cats yet.
Okay.
I'm getting there though. So it was, Tiffany wanted control and would like yell at Piper. And it came down to everybody just being told what to do. And a lot of the kids said that they were faking a lot of stuff. This was when they had to have the teacher on, or somebody mentioned they needed to have a teacher on set. And because they were supposed to have food, school, certain hours to work. And like there are laws that exist to protect child stars, but like in film, there
it didn't extend to
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hunter and Tiffany believed they were outside of those laws because it was YouTube. And this point is when they started like rescuing cats. And patients said that like growing up, they had a lot of cats. Like they would have like 20, 30 cats that they'd rescue and feed and get to other homes. And, it was like a constant cycle. Well, it started at like 36 cats they had rescued, Tiffany and Piper.
That to me I can smell it.
Oh, and it was, I think that's what led to like how because they had to scrub the house.
Yeah,
like she
Tiffany
said,
became obsessive about keeping the house clean with bleach and all of that.
Yeah.
So like she'd have the kids like bleaching the walls and stuff. And there was something mentioned that Piper and Sophie, I believe, were like wiping the walls, bleaching the walls,
and like fell asleep
on the stairs. And so Sophie's mom said, "Listen, she's not going to know. Just go to bed.
Yeah.
Just go to bed." And so they did. But then the next morning, Sophie told her mom about it. And, or not Sophie, Piper told Tiffany about it. And Tiffany lost her shit.
Yeah. So I said 36 cats rescued and then up to 60. And that number kept going up throughout this docuseries. And Sophie's mom said it was so bad that the trash pickup wouldn't take the trash because it was too heavy because of all the litter in the trash cans. And Sophie said that it was not fun to make videos anymore. And as it became more about the numbers. And then
they also had a dog too. We're going to add that in. That'll become relevant later as well. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. I briefly mentioned because that wasn't as important as the other one.
Well, it feeds into.
Yeah. But this is when Tiffany started putting the girls in bikinis, and they were started forcing the kids into more uncomfortable situations. And like there was a prank video they did where everybody was mean to a girl named Simone and like bullied her all day. And like it was awful. It was very hurtful.
Right.
And then Tiffany wanted to do more and more like questionable things. And yeah, Frank was the dog. And Tiffany would hold Frank and talk for Frank. And I wrote, Frank was just Tiffany saying mean shit to kids in a voice different from her own. And
there was one particular boy that she really went in on.
Gavin.
Yes.
Tiffany was fascinated with Gavin, and she would like flirt with him at 12 years old.
She asked him,
"Do you have a boner from looking at me?"
Yes.
At 12 years old. And this is a grown woman. Like, she had Piper when she was 26. So it's not like she had Piper when she was 15, 16, 17, whatever. This is a grown woman asking a 12-year-old boy that.
That's sickening.
Yeah. And this is when Corinne started telling her mom stuff that was going on. And they left. Corinne and her mom dipped. And this is when Tiffany started to go a little more sideways than she already was. And Piper and Tiffany forced all others in the squad to be really nasty to Corinne online. And like, she wasn't the first one that like, as far as like the YouTube analytics, that doesn't happen till later.
Yeah.
But like they blacklisted Corinne.
Yeah.
And like all of her comments turned just awful. And then Reagan, who we mentioned before.
Hold on. So before we get there, you were talking about Sophie's mom and talking about how she was putting the kids in more like the outfits and stuff. The outfits.
Yeah.
Are you going to come back to that?
I think so, because
there was a statement made by Sophie's mom that struck me
about
the choice of outfits that the girls would wear.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think I do mention that because that's mentioned in episode 2, I believe. We're still in episode 1. Yeah. And then Reagan started accusing Tiffany of forcing herself on him. And this was when I guess episode 1 ended. Was Reagan saying, that Tiffany forced herself on him. And then it notes at the end of the episode that Tiffany, Hunter, and Piper, via their attorney, denied to be interviewed or comment for the series. And Tiffany has publicly denied the accusations. And then we move to episode 2. And this is when Reagan met Tiffany and Piper through his manager to just make content together. And Reagan is trans, and Tiffany would question the sexual aspects of the transition, like about the genitalia. What do you got going on down there?
Right.
And it made Reagan very uncomfortable.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then Tiffany would provide alcohol, and there was yes, Reagan was streaming, and Tiffany had provided alcohol to all these teenagers, and she like decides she wants to be involved. She wants to be on the stream. And then she's like rubbing all over Reagan, being weird. And then Piper tried to get Tiffany to stop and was like, "Hey, you're being weird and embarrassing me."
Now, keep in mind that Piper is here seeing all of this. And at this point, Piper's like 12, 13.
Yeah. And then Tiffany grabs Reagan and kisses him and does it twice.
Well, but what's crazy is in the video, they show the video of the live
they
stream.
show the live stream.
Tiffany goes in, grabs Reagan, starts trying to make out with Reagan. Piper from behind her sees it happen and grabs Tiffany by the head and pulls her off of Reagan.
Yeah.
And then Tiffany turns and goes right back and starts again.
Yeah. And then Reagan kind of laughed it off and then immediately like ended the stream after the second kiss. And almost as soon as that live stream ended, it was already all over the internet because Reagan was 17.
Yeah.
And then Reagan said that the next day, it was wiped. It was like it had never happened. And was like baffled as to how it just vanished.
Right.
And then Reagan said that he didn't report it because of her status and felt like it would be a career ruiner.
Right.
And totally stopped communication with Tiffany and that whole outfit. And I think that's the last we hear from Reagan for a while. So. And then it was noted that Tiffany started to steal other creators' content. Like she would like copy like situation for situation other creators because that's what was getting them clicks and that's what was getting them views. And then would just copy it. And then this was when like crush content started to pop off on the internet. And she pulled in Gavin to ship with Piper and they became Pavin. And like this type of viral content is just made for reactions, is all it is. Tiffany would come up with the ideas and Hunter would make them happen. A lot of like pretending that, oh, this is my first kiss. And I'm sure for a lot of these kids, these were their first kisses. Yeah. And they were being used for views. Because they're like kids kissing on their crush, quote unquote crush, makes the video go viral.
Right.
And they were pushed into acting older than they really were. Because they were still like 11, 12, 13 years old. And then Tiffany, it continues that Tiffany really liked Gavin and would make inappropriate jokes about him. And this is when Brandon, who was with the manager, I think he owns a management company, started receiving calls from parents with concerns about what was going on with the squad. As particularly regarding like meals, school, the clothing they were wearing. And Gavin's parents ended up just taking him out of this toxic environment.
Right. And
this is when we see Walker come in. Walker was in commercials and stuff. And came in as part of, Tiffany would do castings for new squad members. It
was like
for new boyfriend content.
Right. And it was honestly like she got rid of one and then found another one that was the same thing, different font.
Yeah. This is when we see like Jensen. It's spelled weird.
It is.
And Sophie being shipped as Jofi, and which that whole relationship started as an audition. We also see from Dance Moms, Ava Michelle just kind of giving like commentary about what it's like to be a child growing up in the public eye.
Ava also has a couple movies out.
Yeah.
We've watched those, the girls. Really
and she's like mentioning, like as particularly in terms of like being a child and your life being used as content, you don't realize what friendships are real, what relationships are real, what feelings are real.
I think I'm having a stroke.
Why?
I smell peanut butter.
This is when we meet Megan.
I'm so tired. I'm delirious, guys.
We're getting there. We're getting
no. I
there.
mean, I'm not trying to rush through it. It's fine.
But this is when we meet Megan. And it's like a video of Piper surrounded by all these boxes and presents for her birthday. And Megan is not a girl. Megan is in fact an older man. And Tiffany, like, when it was, like, discovered that Megan was not just, like, some woman or some girl or whatever, and it was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't cater to older men. And Tiffany knew it was an older man and she said, I know he's a perv, and I know he's Piper's stalker. He's Piper's stalker. And, like, he would call, and Tiffany would sit and talk to this guy and then would be like, Piper, Megan's on the phone, and Piper would have to go entertain this man on the phone.
She would pull away from everything that's happening right then.
Yeah.
And go talk to this person on the phone.
And like people are seeing this and are like, hey, and like Tiffany's on the phone with this guy all the time. And is getting like purses, like Louis Vuitton purses and Gucci bags and stuff like that. And like camera equipment, computer equipment, all kinds of very expensive gifts. And Corinne went to her mother and asked her, why do old men like to smell underwear? And when Corinne's mom was like, what are you talking about? How do you know about that?
Right.
It came out that Tiffany went to the post office and had Corinne with her and was like, I've got to ship some things, whatever. And Corinne sees her take out a plastic bag that looks like it has Piper's underwear in it. And Corinne was like, what are you doing with those? And Tiffany told Corinne that old men like to smell them. And then when Corinne's mom confronted her about it, she was like, it's not a big deal, da-da-da-da-da. And then it's like, comes out that like they're like a teenage girl, it was like 92% of her audience are adult men.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, and also it should be noted that like Sophie's like social media accounts were contacted by Megan. And first contact, Sophie's mom blocked Megan on everything.
Right.
And then, this was when Hunter was supposed to be earning 10% of all of the squad's earnings and wanted them to sign contracts. And I think it was Sawyer who was like, I'm not doing that. And like, I think it was Jensen's mom was like, what if this doesn't work out? And what if you want to own your own content later? Like, it just, and then she was like, I'm not real comfortable with this. And this was when Tiffany, because Tiffany was also deciding who got what brand deals. And like she would decide like who's holding the product in the video, who's talking about the product in the video, who's doing this, that, and the other. Like Tiffany and Hunter are orchestrating every single aspect of all of these videos.
Right.
And this was when Tiffany made Sophie's mom the stylist. And
this is what I was talking about earlier.
And like she went shopping and got clothes for the girls. And she said Tiffany got pissed at her and said she wanted sluttier clothes for Piper, and Piper isn't Sophie. And was like, I'm just like, ew.
Yeah.
Ew. And then, like, there's the quote, you know, sex sells. And then this is when it gets into talking about, like, and this, I've known about this for a little while, but, like, adult men, or even just adults, I'm sure there are women who are involved in this, too, who will pull photos of children off of Instagram or social media and upload it to these like CP, child porn sites, and discuss the children. And like there are comments on these posts that are like, these like, thank God for influencer moms and posting their kids because they're giving us all of this for free.
Yeah.
And like, I guess Piper had talked to her mother about not being comfortable with a lot of the things going on. And her mom, they would get into a fight, and then the next day they're filming content. Like it never happened.
Right.
And I don't know who said it, but like, or if I just like inferred that, but like Piper didn't have any real friends.
She really didn't.
Like all of her friends were coworkers.
Yeah.
And they're like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened and everybody was trapped in the house. And then Connor, who was 14, come in. This is when they start getting like more into their teens, like 13.
Yeah.
All that. And his mom really didn't think it was that weird that they all only hung out together, which I thought was weird.
Right.
I was like, you really didn't think that that was weird, but I guess during COVID times, it really kind of made more sense. But because they're like trapped at home, these kids are worked like constantly and they're exhausted. Oh, and this is when Piper's cousins, Reese and Claire, like move into the house. Like they move into the area.
Yeah.
And like, Patience was working at the house for free. She was like, while y'all, you know, until y'all start earning money and then you can start paying me. Little did she know, they're already like, they're in the money. Bank. They're in the money. And then she started seeing the climbing revenue and like, but still wasn't getting paid anything.
Right.
She did say that Tiffany offered to pay her and she told her no. And then this is when we get into like the fake and paid engagement and like paying bots to inflate your numbers. And like, but the problem is that like the bots inflate the numbers, but you don't get paid from bot views.
Right.
You only get paid from legitimate views, likes, clicks, all that. And so they're doing that to like push the videos out into the algorithm more, into like more recommended pages, more For You page, you know, all the things. And then that's getting real clicks and earning real money. And each video got a little bit more like out there and
Right.
like do, because there was pressure to outdo yourself every single day, and it didn't matter what happened to any of the kids as long as it was filmed. And this was when Tiffany was getting more strict and controlling, and she would try to keep the parents in the back house, which is like, was it RVs in the back?
It's what it kind of sounded like.
But
maybe.
like, did not want the parents hanging out in the content house.
Right.
And like, would do anything to keep them out. And several of the moms were like, we didn't realize it at the time, and it's called splitting behavior is what it's called. But Tiffany would pit the moms against each other, and then she really manipulated the moms' friendships and relationships with each other and their children.
She didn't want the moms to be friends with each other at all.
She didn't want the possibility of anybody. And one of the moms was like, and we did not realize that that's what was happening. Even Patience was like, we had no idea that that's what was going on. And she was like, we did not see until it was too late that she was orchestrating everything. And it's insane. And one of the moms was like, sitting here, she's like, I know exactly what I would say if I was watching this documentary.
Yeah.
How did they not see it? She was like, it must take an idiot to not see that. She was like, but it happens so quickly, but sneakily that you don't realize that
Tiffany was a master manipulator.
Yes. And yeah, so, and one of the boys, I think it was Sawyer, he was the one that I think was interviewed the most.
Yeah.
But he was like, shit got weird. Shit started getting weird. The pranks were getting a little bit more elaborate. There was a prank video where Piper fake broke her leg, and they rented an ambulance.
Yeah.
With EMTs.
Fake broke her leg and had a heat stroke or something.
Yes. And the kids never knew what was real and what wasn't. And then there was the police prank.
Yeah.
Where nobody was informed as to that this was there were only 2 or 3 people that even knew that this prank was happening.
Right.
And Sophie was having a panic attack.
Yeah. Couldn't breathe.
Yeah. The moms didn't know that it was a prank. And one of the boys was getting arrested.
He knew about it. But that it was him, Hunter, and Tiffany that knew about it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so when the cops came, you had, I think it was Jensen was in tears.
Yeah.
And then Sophie's having a panic attack. And then the parents are seeing this go on, and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
Because they have to stay where they're at.
Yeah.
And, it's all going down. Cops come in, cuff this kid, take him out the door.
Yeah.
And then put him in the car.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, just kidding.
Right. LOL.
And then the people that were playing the cops were like, we kind of felt bad for a minute. And they were like, oh, they'll grow up. It's fine.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't see this as being disgusting when you've got one kid in tears and another one over here having a full-blown panic attack?
Right. And moms freaking out because they didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I don't know. It was crazy.
You really don't smell like something's been cooked or burning.
He might have been cooking
I just
something.
texted Daniel and asked him if he had cooked something, and he hasn't read it.
But Jensen's mom did not like the prank, and she let Tiffany know, and Tiffany did not like that. She did not like it, and did not like that she had a problem with it. And this is when some of the moms start to form alliances.
He says no, he has not.
I don't know. And then, but Jensen's mom is like, I'm going to call his dad. and he's going to be like our spokesperson, and we're going to get our kids out of this.
Because I think Jensen, I don't think that they lived together.
No.
Jensen's dad lived elsewhere in a different state.
Yeah.
And so he's removed from the situation.
Yeah.
So she didn't think that he would be as easily manipulated.
Yeah. Well, it turns out Tiffany changed Jensen's dad's mind, and he allowed his son to stay and told his son that, and Tiffany and his dad told Jensen that his mom just wanted his money. And that was it. And that was why she was trying to do this. And it happened very quickly. They were still
together, actually.
Yes, they were still married. Because at one point she says she filed for divorce so she could try to get Jensen out of that house.
Right.
And then, this was also when my gummy hit. And I said, Tiffany got a big ass fucking forehead. And somebody called CPS, and they came in, and like Tiffany coached all of the girls and told them to lie. So CPS left, and like Sophie's mom is like in tears, and she's like, they could have saved these kids, but they left. And the kids started to not even trust each other, because like if something was going on and one of the kids was like disgruntled, if they didn't know if they could talk to one of their, friends, quote unquote friends, and then that friend is going to go run and tell Tiffany.
Right.
And then they're going to get punished.
Right. Because at one point something had been said by one of them, and Tiffany, that kid's phone had mysteriously come up missing.
Yeah.
Tiffany got the kid a new phone, set it up for them, then started seeing the text messages. I think it was Sophie. Yeah. Started seeing the text messages to her mom saying, this is effed up, yo. Stuff like that. Like, I don't like it here. All this stuff. And then Tiffany lost it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, actually. We can try these new chips.
Come on. Well, Sophie's mom said she stayed because she did not want to leave Piper. She did not want to leave her in that situation. What? It's a puff.
It's weird. I don't hate it. It's actually really good. Okay, I'm on board.
It's a Pringles puff.
I'm on board.
I like it.
You want more?
I like the flavor. No. Well, yeah. But, right after this was that texting incident.
Yeah.
And Sophie and her mom left the situation. Get down. I'm going to kick you out. I'll make her kick you out.
I won't do it.
And then she said this ripped everything from Sophie, because Sophie and Piper at this point were best friends and were like each other's.
Too is they had shipped Sophie and Jensen together.
Yeah.
And they really did like each other.
Yeah.
So this was like her real life boyfriend.
Yeah.
So when Sophie left, it ripped her best friend as well as her boyfriend away.
Yeah. And then immediately Tiffany did like a casting call, and there was another girl almost immediately in her place.
In a ship with Jensen.
Yeah, with Jensen. Along with the thread of like everybody talking positively about Piper throughout in terms of her friendship and her as a person. It was at this point that they said like she was crying all the time. And also Walker got out. Walker was out, and he's out of social media. He doesn't want anything to do with social media and doesn't really want to even act anymore, because he was just an actor before. And he really doesn't want anything to do with
any
of it. Jensen quit speaking to his mom. and told his mom that Tiffany was a better mom than she was. And everybody says Tiffany's nice persona is just a facade. And nobody ever does anything about Tiffany because of fear of retaliation.
Right.
And then Tiffany, like Jensen's mom, was like, I thought, you know, she didn't think anything else of it until, like, in terms of, like, trying to get back at Tiffany or whatever. Until there was a YouTube video of Tiffany sitting in her house in their house in Texas or something.
Yeah.
And like going through her house and touching her stuff. Oh, these are my chips. And they said, even Sophie's mom was like, I was relieved to not have to go back to that house. To go back to
right
the situation with Tiffany.
And Sophie begged.
Yeah.
Because she was fearful for Piper and missed Piper.
Mm-hmm. And this is about the end of episode 2. And they knew payback was coming, but they didn't, and they knew it would be bad, but they didn't know how bad. At the beginning of episode 3, we're seeing Piper with the remaining squad members in a video looking clearly uncomfortable. Going through the people who left the squad and giving reasons as to why they actually left, even though they say it was because of a toxic environment. And that's a lie.
And this included, at this point, Patience and her wife had pulled their kids.
Yeah, they were out of there. And Piper unfollowed every single one of these people.
On camera.
And they said the hardest part was their kids watching and reading the comments. And said Claire was only 13 and was getting some of the, like, nastiest comments. Tiffany was the one that was, like, responding to people in comments, like, from Piper's page. And it was, they believe, and it's, like, there's strong evidence to support.
Right.
The fact that Piper, the Piper fan accounts were just ran by Tiffany to be able to talk trash about the squad members who left. And the moms were like, they really, really just terrorized these kids.
Right.
Once they left. They noticed a stark dip in subscribers. Before fans would have even known if Sawyer had left or not. So it was like overnight a dip in subscribers. And then Claire's was the same. And then it happened to all the other kids. The moms really started looking into, why is this happening? And how is Tiffany doing this? Because they knew Tiffany was behind it.
Right.
And this is when we start talking about, like, bot networks. And, like, it's basically, like, the seedy underworld of social media, which was wild.
They showed a room where it's, like, people sitting in front of a computer. And the wall in front of them, above the computer, is, like, rows and rows of cell phones that are connected by wires.
Yeah.
That are just scrolling through videos constantly, giving them, these bot responses, these bot views.
Yeah. It's exactly why your concert tickets cost $500. It's the same. Get her out of here. I'm trying to snatch a Cheeto out of my fingers.
Come on.
You gotta go. You're not welcome in here anymore. Get
No.
out.
Nope.
Get out of here. Where's my squirt bottle? No. Hold that one more time. I'll get you out of here myself. Anyway. At this point, these kids' entire lives have been taken away by Tiffany. And this is when the lawsuit is filed by all 11 against Tiffany and Hunter in 2022. And it was like, it listed like, they talked about the effects they saw on their kids' careers. And when the attorneys during the discovery process were questioning the children,
This is where shit gets
this
wild.
this is like the last like push of like we so far, like this statement is like the attorneys realize that the parents' stories that they've heard is just the tip of the iceberg of the shit that's been going on in this house. And like with this whole conglomerate.
So we didn't even discuss the fact. Well, maybe it goes in on this part. Keep going.
So, warning, there is verbal, emotional, and sexual, like childhood trauma abuse going on hereafter. And the stories that the kids are telling really weaves like a house of horrors. And the I think it was the attorney was like, we were not prepared to hear about sexual abuse. The parents were not prepared to hear about sexual abuse. So Tiffany would ask the kids sexual questions, particularly to Corinne when Corinne was 11, when Tiffany asked her if she knew what a blowjob was. And then Corinne was like, I'm 11. No. And Tiffany's like, well, I can show you on Hunter. Miss ma'am.
Right. And then Piper's like, Mom, you're being weird.
Yeah.
Stop.
And then she's like, I'm just joking. Psycho.
The fact that Piper had to be the voice of reason there.
Yeah.
At 11.
Yeah. So, this is when we learn about Lenny. Lenny is a character of Tiffany's.
Okay, so did you go into the scenes that she would set up in the videos for the kids?
With
all of them in general. So there was like, she'd have the kids like, they're gonna make out.
Yeah.
Did you go into that?
No.
Okay.
That was really like with that crush content.
Okay, so they would have like scenes where the kids were like making out.
Yeah.
Or talking about it.
Yeah.
And they're like in very suggestive positions.
Mm-hmm.
Very suggestive staging.
Yeah.
And this was really being pushed. There was
Yeah.
one scene in particular where it was like Piper and whatever flavor of the week that Tiffany had her set up with.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the newer ones with, I think it was Jensen.
Yeah.
And they were all in a bedroom. And there's like not a couch, but like a bench seat at the end of the bed. And there's two on the bed, and then Piper and her flavor were on the bench seat.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Tiffany's like, have them making out or talking about making out or whatever.
I forgot about that, yeah.
And Hunter was like, that was the plan, but how do you want me to stage it?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Right. Like, at some point, you have to realize what I'm doing is weird.
Right.
Well.
Now we go back to Lenny.
So, Lenny, the name came about from a little cat they had that died. But Tiffany would use the Lenny character that she had created as a vent for her, like, dirty sexual side.
But not in the videos.
No,
this
not in the videos. This
in
was
life.
Just in life, yeah.
Like, she multiple personalities.
Yeah. She would wake the kids up as Lenny.
Claire
Reese
talked about... Oh, what?
Reese had a story where Tiffany would in Lenny's voice grabbed her, like Tiffany asked Reese to come to her room for something or something like that, and in Lenny's voice she grabbed her and Reese ran to the bathroom and locked herself in Tiffany's bathroom and then didn't hear anything for a while, and then in Lenny's voice through the door, Tiffany was like, I have my pants down. Do you want to come see? And then I guess it got quiet and Reese was like, I'm going to sneak out of here. And goes out. Well, Tiffany grabs her and throws her on the bed and like gets on top of her and pins her down and starts rubbing all over her. And somehow she got loose and ran and went and hid in the RV. And then there are stories that eventually come out from Sophie and Claire saying telling the exact same story. Like, of something very, very similar happening to them. To the point that Sophie said she sleeps with a bed by her.
A knife by her bed.
A knife by her bed. In case someone sneaks in. That pisses me off.
Yeah.
And the moms, like, or the parents were like, we didn't protect our kids. And they were there.
Right.
And they were like, we didn't know that was going on. Some of the other kids said that they saw Tiffany do this kind of stuff to Piper too, but Piper thought it was normal because that's all she's ever known.
Right.
And said if it wasn't, like, Tiffany would say that it was Lenny who was doing it. It wasn't her. It was Lenny.
Psychologically, something is wrong.
Yeah. So, this lawsuit. Oh, we also meet Mom Uncharted at this point, and she does like investigations into these like kidfluencing families and stuff. And she starts to really look into the Piper Raquel situation.
Is this where Don't Click Kids comes in?
Kind
I think
of.
That was more season or episode 2, wasn't it?
I think I know that's coming up.
Okay.
I don't mention it by name though, because I was not in a state to remember that. Even like, and there was like the lawsuit, mind you, was 147 pages long. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Pink, the singer, like spoke about this and was like, hey, it's kind of fucked up to exploit your kids. And then, but also too, there were other people who were like, the parents are also to blame. They were there. They saw red flags and ignored them because there were glaring red flags.
She keeps pressing her head up against the desk like,
Yeah.
man.
Poor thing. Shouldn't have tried to steal one from me. Like, the other moms are like, it's very complex. Like, and said by the time you realize how fucked you are, it's too late to get out.
Right. Look, every time you move, she moves.
The attorney was like, this case is not about where the parents went wrong. This is about where Tiffany and Hunter went wrong and what they did. And like, all these moms are upset and they're like crying, thinking about like what they allowed, and they will carry that guilt with them for the rest of their lives. Oh yeah. Amara ain't nothing but a drama queen.
Is she ever here with her head pressed up against the desk like she's just going through it because she's not getting any Cheetos? She looked at her, watched her dig in the chip bag, and then turned her head and pressed it back up against the desk.
And then they also mentioned like cases like Ruby Frankie.
Yeah.
Because that mom, she was abusing her children.
I haven't dipped into that one yet. I think my sister just watched that and was talking to me about it.
That case was so messed up.
I'm going to watch it.
And then we talk more about there being no regulations. And when a child, and the attorney said, when a child is treated like this, they shouldn't have to hire private attorneys to vindicate their rights.
Right.
We hear Hunter testify, like a recording of Hunter testifying. And like, he is labeled by, I think, the attorney, it might have been one of the other moms, as a weak man being manipulated by Tiffany. And I made the note, the gummy made the note, looks like a fucking nerd. And then, I think it was Sophie called him a weirdo who hung out with 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because at first, like, they thought, like, the kids thought, oh, this is our friend. And, like, you know, he genuinely seems to care about us and this, that, and the other. And then she was like, no, he's just a weirdo who likes to hang out with 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And, I guess I wrote down confronting Hunter, but I don't know what that meant. Oh, there was video of him like being confronted in a parking lot by like I don't know if it was a journalist.
It was right across the street from their house.
Yeah.
They had just pulled in the driveway. Him, Tiffany, and Piper had just pulled in the driveway. And there were like reporters across the street just hanging out in the street recording.
Gotcha.
And Hunter walked over and they were like, we can be here.
Yeah.
Do you understand that what's going on in there is wrong? And he's like, you can't videotape. She's a child. And he's like, but you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Piper is forced to put up a video playing for her mom's case. And basically just saying it's all bullshit. I wrote down Axel. I think that was a new kid that was hanging out, but wasn't really like part of the squad.
Yeah.
He was just kind of hanging out every once in a while. In a serious blow to the Piper Raquel. I want to say, why do I keep wanting to say Rockefeller?
I don't know.
Anyway, Raquel, money pipeline, YouTube demonetized Piper's account. And the YouTube CEO said, you know, if a scandal that a creator is in affects the entire ecosystem of creators, YouTube will demonetize their entire channel. And this has happened in cases of like,
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Unfortunately, Shane Dawson, when he was accused, like some old content with like super inappropriate jokes, which he has come out and said, it wasn't right. I shouldn't have said it. I thought it was funny at the time. It was never actually funny. And I feel like he's redeemed himself, and I feel like he's shown growth, and I think that that's what's important. I don't think he committed any crimes. I don't think he is a pedophile like he's been accused of. I think he took advantage of the shock comedy that was more popular on YouTube in the early days and ran with it maybe a little too hard. And it ended up being like creepy, just not funny at all. If you're not familiar with the situation. But then there's also like I think even like with Ruby Frankie, like their channel was demonetized. And then there was another one that they talked about that was also demonetized. But yeah, basically, like, if one big creator who is making a lot of money on the platform is involved in a scandal that will ultimately affect advertisers paying into the creator fund,
either be it in personal life or
in professional life, if anything that is like has everybody clutching at their pearls, the YouTube will be like, okay, this is not cool, and you gotta go. Anyway, this is when we're introduced to an app called Brand Army, which I've made the note of. It's OnlyFans with no nudity. You can be 13 and create an account, but you can only pay to subscribe to accounts if you're 18 plus. So basically allows only adults to subscribe to exclusive content made by children. Gross.
Yeah.
And at an early age, somebody said, at an early age, these children realize that being more provocative will earn more money, and they're more impressionable to that. And Piper was worried about bills. Piper is the one who was worried about the mortgage, the light bill, the water bill, the internet. She's the one that's worried about, is this shit getting paid? And was basically already acting like an adult as a child. Why not monetize that?
Right.
And somebody said, where is the line for Tiffany? Where is that line of I've gone too far?
The limit does not exist.
Yeah. So the family was contacted by, or all of the families were contacted by the FBI. They have everything. There's been no movement. They said, the FBI basically said they need a smoking gun. And lawmakers don't take this industry seriously and will not change or create laws, basically saying that our lawmakers are geriatric at best, and they don't understand social media.
Right.
And they don't understand how devastating this can be for children if they're not protected.
Right.
And this is when that organization, that girl, comes in.
Don't Click Kids, yeah.
Yes. And she was talking about the Coogan laws and how social media needs to be included in these laws. So Coogan laws stem from famously Jackie Coogan, who worked in Charlie Chaplin films in the silent era and went on to be Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. And this law was written because his mother took all of his money and left him with nothing. She took everything. And so legislation was introduced where child actors, it sets up more regulations of when they can work, how long they can work, how many breaks they have to have, how many hours of school they have to have, how many meals they have to have, and their meals have to be provided, and all this. And then as far as their income, they have to put, I think it's 80%.
Started to say there was a percentage that they have to set aside.
Yes. 80% has to go into not just any sort of account, but like a trust. And that trust holds that money for the child actor until they're an adult and can spend it however they wish. And then the parent the 20% goes to pay, manager, whatever, help the parents, whatever, whoever's managing the child. So, and like more recently, we saw that like with Honey Boo Boo even, or Alana, because I know she doesn't like to be called that anymore, but Alana, where her mom, Mama June, took money out of her Coogan account and spent it. And like, that's what Alana was planning to pay for her college with, and it wasn't there. And she's like, I spent it on you. I spent it on you. And it's like, no, you spent it on drugs.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Which she shouldn't have been able to make. I don't think she took money from the account. I think she never put it in, was the situation. Because once that money is properly in a Coogan account, it cannot be taken out.
Right.
I don't think, unless there's like extenuating circumstances, but I don't think it can be touched. But the Don't Click Kids said, there are more states implementing laws that include social media in this, like.
Right. Unfortunately, California is not one of them.
It is now.
It is now?
It is now. Because I think I did make a note of that. That it was briefly, it was like quick at the end. They were like, once California took that under, as part, because there's not a lot of states, but in California was not the first state. It was like Indiana or Illinois or something. It was like something oddball. But, and this is the point where the 11 families get a settlement offer from Tiffany and Hunter. But Claire wanted to go to trial because she wanted to be able to get up on the stand and tell her story. But ultimately, they accepted the settlement offer, and hold on. I said done with lawsuit, not done sharing. Oh, yeah. Just because they accepted that settlement offer, which was $1.85 million split among the 11 kids. Just because the family said that just because they were done with the lawsuit didn't mean that they were done sharing the story. Because like Jensen's mom still has no contact with her son. And the big thing that they said was Piper has no voice in any of this. Like, Piper's not allowed to speak about this.
Right.
She's not allowed to confirm or deny of anything.
Right. And at the end of it all, that's the main concern.
Yeah.
Is that they want to get Piper out of the situation.
Yeah.
And by exposing all of this, that could be more of a possibility.
Yeah. And but like, and this is the point where the kids and the moms were like, we had to save our kids. We had to, and the kids are like, we had to save ourselves from this situation. And like and Sophie in particular was very broken up because she feels like she abandoned Piper.
Yeah.
And, and I think they all do. They all feel like a sense of they abandoned her there because they all had nothing but nice things to say about her. And they all said they would do anything for Piper and she deserves to be in a good environment. And this is when it ended. It said how much the settlement was. And then I went and looked at, I Googled Piper because I had never heard of any of this before. So Piper will be 18 years old this year. In August.
She's already got tattoos.
Yeah. In August of this year, I went to her Instagram and literally
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Every single video is an ad, and if it's not an ad, it's a scripted trend video with probably a tagged ad in the caption.
And
she stays in the skimpiest clothes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
And I mean,
there's some where she's covered, but like the shorts are short, but like they're not like here's one where the shorts are short, but they're not like showing anything.
Yeah.
And she's got like a low cut scoop neck on, but like it's not a lot. But like
there's
here's
one
some in
that's
like lingerie looking.
Yeah,
stuff,
there was like a set
suits.
that was like a white and red or white and pink little like pajama looking set.
Yeah.
And I was like, it looks like she lives alone, like with her ex-boyfriend. I don't know what that whole situation is, but I don't think she does. I mean, there's no way she does. But my thought upon seeing the content,
she's beautiful.
She is beautiful. But like my thought upon seeing what type of content she is putting on Instagram now as a 17-year-old, how long do you think when she turns 18? I said, I made the note. I was like, how long till she has an OF that would be set up by her mother and run by her mother and Hunter? I was like, because once she's 18, there are whole new ways to exploit her. And I think that's disgusting.
There's a bikini right here that is like, no 17-year-old should be wearing that.
Yeah. I ended my notes on, this one was so fucked up. It's on site, Tiffany. I swear for God.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm disgusted by the entirety of the situation.
Yeah.
Like,
it really makes me rethink, like I've like watched like family content where it's like, it's not specifically about the kids, but the kids are involved. But it's primarily like, I mean, really, it's like what dad's doing because he's always doing something. Because like we talked about Colleen Ballinger earlier, her brother has like, they have a family channel. And like if a kid, and they've said, you know, if one of the kids doesn't want to be on camera, we don't force them.
Right.
Because there's been times where there's one kid where it's like, are they okay? And like every once in a while they'll pop in and just say hi. So you know that they're there, but they're not like a primary thing in the video. And especially now that like some of the kids are getting older, like you don't see really the teens as much. Or at least like when I was still watching them, because I don't really watch them anymore. But then there's like, and I don't think it's necessarily bad for like, especially like for influencer parents to have their kids on social media. A lot of them now don't show their kids' faces. They'll like put an emoji over or like film from the back or whatever. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think, yes, it promotes like safety for them if you don't show their faces.
Right. And like,
but I think as long as they're not your content,
yeah,
I think it's fine.
Now, like, okay, so like with Lizzie Gordon,
yeah,
there have been very few times that she has shown her child's face on any social media. And she specifically said he's not old enough to make the decision as to whether or not he wants that presence.
Right.
And I applaud that.
Yeah.
Now, there is one mom that I follow on TikTok, and her shit is hilarious. Her children are in the videos, but it's only like from the backs of their head. You might see the side of their face. But I don't know that I've ever seen like their whole front face. And like you can hear their voices, but like the entire premise of the video is her trolling her kids. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen so many videos, but like things like, dad's in the bathroom pooping and she's telling the kids to go to the door and go, "Today, Junior," like she's
Yeah.
getting them to, teaching them stupid shit from back in our day and
Yeah.
selling it off as relevant shit now.
Yeah.
And it's funny shit, but it's not exploiting her children.
Right.
It's her just being funny and trolling her kids, and it's not anything that's harmful.
Yeah.
The kids are having a blast.
Yeah.
Having a blast.
Right.
And it's just,
and it's not like she's got her kids reading ads.
no.
And like I've seen content where like, cause like I follow Louise Pentland and I have for a long time. And like every once in a while she'll do like Disney ads or like, I think she's done like Lego before, or she'll have like a toy brand, and she's based in the UK. So I know that their laws are different. As particularly with social media. But like she'll have her girl, like one of her girls, sometimes I guess they may not want to do it, but they'll be in the ad, like on Instagram Reels or on her YouTube channel or whatever. It's very rare it's on her YouTube, and I'm just like, but the way that she's been open about how she operates, like in terms of the business decision she's made, she's been a little bit more open about that. And I just know that those girls are like set up with accounts. And if they help with like an ad like that, like I guarantee she puts a majority of that money into like education account or whatever for her girls.
I mean, hell,
because like she had a traumatic childhood, and like you can just watch through her content how she is healing her inner child by being the mother that she didn't get to have, because her mom died young and then her dad remarried and the wife was horrible, and her dad didn't know for a long time, and then she was like, "Listen, this lady's like beating the shit out of me," and he immediately got her out of there.
Good for him.
Yeah. But like she still struggles with that.
Yeah.
And like I personally enjoy watching her heal her inner child by being the mother she didn't get to have.
Right.
And by being the mother that her mother would have been to her. And like it's so great. It's so great. Like she has a Polly Pocket collection and like let her daughter play with them.
Aww.
And she was like, "I'm not fussy about them." So, like,
see,
I think they're
stuff like that. Like as a mom, who also has slight bits of OCD from time to time, that makes my skin crawl slightly, especially depending on the condition of the toys. Like, TJ had Hot Wheels that he had been saving for years. Mm-hmm. They were just, displayed. Mm. Randomly, he's just like, and there was even like a model car. Randomly, he's like, "Here, Easton, you can just have all of these." Mm. What's the first thing Easton does? Take them all out of the box. Yeah. Funko Pops, out of the box. Yeah. That drives me insane. But like, on the flip side of it, they're toys. Yeah. They're toys.
How many Barbies was I dying to play with and wasn't allowed to?
Right.
When I did that doll exchange for Valentine's Day,
first
thing I did was take that damn thing out of the box. And I brushed her hair.
There you go. But like, all this to say, like, making money off of your children is not okay.
No.
We don't make money on this.
No.
I talk about my kids.
Yeah, but they're not the focal point of the content.
I don't bring them into it. Right. There has been one TikTok that I have posted that you see my children in passing. Mm-hmm. There has been one picture that I have posted that included one of my children.
Yeah.
That's it. You guys will not see
Yeah.
From that point forward, you can hear stories.
Yeah.
You're never going to meet them.
Right.
Unless you're
Family.
close personal family friend, you're never going to meet them.
Right.
Even if by off chance one day we make it to the point where we can't even go to Walmart anymore.
Right.
That's a thing for me to say now.
Can you imagine?
My kids are out of it.
Yeah.
My kids don't help me with episode ideas. They don't help me with episode notes. They're not involved in this at all.
Right.
They do see this as another job for me, even though I don't make money.
Yeah. It feels like a job.
It does. If they see me sitting with this laptop in particular and it's not turned the other way, like if it's sitting
like in tablet mode.
Yeah. If I'm sitting here, like I'm typing on it or looking at stuff, are you doing podcast stuff? Or like
cute.
On the days that I come here to record.
Mm-hmm.
If they see me pack up my backpack
Mm-hmm.
and look like I'm heading to the door. You going to eat Brittany's? You going to do podcasts? Yep. You going to record? Yep. And so, it's part of their life now.
Yeah.
But they're not a part of this.
Right. That is very cute to think about.
They think it's cool. They've heard me say that like we have downloads in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So they like to go and tell their friends that I'm famous.
That's so cute.
It is. My mom's got a podcast and people from all over the world listen to it.
That's like some of the girls in the Discord, their kids, like, know of Pixie. And, like, will go to school. My mom's friends with a famous person.
Yeah. Yeah. Gemma has told me that she's gone to school and told her friends that I'm famous. I think Easton has too.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
funny.
you lying, first and
like,
foremost.
Who are your mom? I've never heard of her.
Right.
Or who is your mom?
I mean, listen, I'm not going to be butthurt if y'all help us get to that point.
Tell your friends. Y'all keep telling your friends.
Yeah, keep telling your friends. Because we've got downloads in states that I don't know anyone from. Lots in certain states that I don't know anyone from. Keep passing the good word. Because, like, I'm not going to be super upset if I can't go into Walmart anymore. I do grocery pickup anyway. So it's kind of rare.
Don't make me have to put on a disguise.
Right. It's kind of rare that I go into Walmart anyway, says the person that literally has been into Walmart twice today.
I went to Walmart twice too.
So, but anyway, that's rare. That's extremely rare.
I don't like going to Walmart.
Now, if y'all get it to the point where I can't go into my friendly neighborhood other grocery store that's real close to my house, we might have a problem.
It's crazy how I never go there.
Well, I mean, it's almost walking distance from my house, so it's like if I'm in the middle of cooking something.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
I used to go there all the time.
Well, but you
I don't go there anymore.
You also lived really close.
Also might be hoping I don't ever run into a former in-law.
Yeah.
So, if any of y'all are listening, I don't want to see your ass.
Mind your business.
If you see me, no, you didn't. Keep on walking.
I'm just waiting.
And you don't go home and talk about me either.
I'm just waiting for the day that I'm asked, well, how is she? I'll be like,
I just know.
Don't worry about it.
I just know that them people, every once in a while, I don't think that I'm like living rent free or anything. Just every once in a while, they think about me and go, man, what a fucking bitch.
Does it bring you joy?
Yes. Very much so.
See, on the flip side of that, I really hope that my ex's family is like, I wonder if she really is the terrible person that he makes her out to be.
They know you're not. They just...
I don't know that they do.
Are easily manipulated.
I think that his mother was aware.
Or rather, they're enablers.
I think that his mother was aware that I was not the shitty person that I was painted to be.
Yeah.
But
they enable his, I don't know, crybaby ass bullshit. I can say it, you can't.
Yeah, I was say, I'm legally obligated to not talk too much shit. in a public forum.
I will.
For now.
Cry about it. Anyway.
Also, speaking of legally obligated to not talk about things, there's going to come a day. There's going to
come a day when we're going to have to scrub some of these episodes.
I don't think that's not where I was going. Where I was going is there's going to come a day that there are people that I feel like some things will get aired out.
Oh, yeah.
One person in particular.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. Anyway.
We'll all have our day in the spotlight.
What's our
Some of us good, some of us bad. Sage.
Tell us about Sage one more time for the month.
Sage is they proudly stand with our senior LGBTQ plus members from across the country who've been fighting for decades for their right to live with dignity and respect. So
we're thinking about the old gay couple, the old gay men that live up the street that everybody's like...
Or the two old ladies that have been roommates for 20 years.
Girl. Never mind. We're thinking about those people. Yeah. Those, the ones that there's been whispers, but no one, if you live in the South in particular, nobody's talking to them.
Yeah. But Sage will advocate for older LGBTQ people at the federal, state, and local levels. And I'm not going to go into the whole spiel again, but it will definitely be on our socials. If you feel like donating, there'll be a link to donate directly to Sage to support them in their initiatives. Follow us
on the Facebook,
Instagram,
and TikTok,
and YouTube.
Email us at
wanderersofweird@gmail.com.
Don't exploit your children.
Okay, bye.
Bye.